Hi everyone, so today we have got a fractions lesson, so it is kind of continuing on from learning we've done before in class when we spoke about halving. So let's have a look at our learning intention and success criteria. So I am learning about fractions. Today hopefully we will go over I can find half of a number, I can find a tenth of a number, and I can explain the steps in finding a half of a number and a tenth of a number. So like I say, we have found half of a number before in class, so hopefully this will be a bit of revision about the learning that we did a while ago, and maybe just thinking about it as a fraction this time rather than just using the word a half, and just seeing that it's the same thing really, whether it's a fraction or the word half. It's the maths is the same to work out the answer. So let's really quick recap, guys. We should know these ones hopefully by doing it mentally. So find half of 16. So how do we think about that? Answer is 8, hopefully that's what you said. Find half of 20. Hopefully you said 10, because that is the answer. And find half of 4. Hopefully you said 2. So if you have been able to work out those ones mentally, then you have found that half of those numbers really quickly using that fraction instead of the word, which is fantastic. So let's take it up to the next level. Find half of 80 this time. Remember, if you know half of 8, you can work out what half of 80 is. So I'll give you a wee second to think about that. Hopefully you said 40. Half of 80 is 40. Let's have a look at the next one. Find half of 60. Remember, if you know half of 6, you can work out what half of 60 is. And 30 is the answer. Well done if you got that one. Last one here, half of 100. Remember, if you know half of 10, you can work out half of 100. And the answer is 50. Well done. So let's take it to the next level. You can pause it here if you want to try out these 4 questions that I've got on the screen for you right now. So half of 40, half of 120, half of 180, and half of 200. Remember to simplify it for yourselves. Cover up that 0 that's on the end of the sum, half the number that you're left with, and then add the 0 back on at the end if that helps. So you can pause the video now and do these 4 examples, finding half of these numbers. So let's get some answers. So the first one, find half of 40, it was 20. Find half of 120, it was 60. Because half of 12 is 6, so half of 120 is 60. Find half of 180, it is 90, because half of 18 is 9. So we just follow that pattern there. And the last one, half of 200 was 100, half of 20 is 10, so half of 200 is 100. So hopefully that has been quick revision for you there. So I think we're ready to go to the next level for some people, so let's fire on. So this would be a medium level now, so what we've just done would maybe be a mild level, so this is taking it to the medium one now. We did get onto this learning in class, and some of us were getting really good at it. I think these ones you just have to learn them. You just have to learn the answers, and that takes a lot of practice and a lot of revision. So if you want to pause the video and maybe these can become learn-its for this week, that would be fantastic. If you know half of 90, half of 70, half of 50 and half of 30, your maths is going to be so much easier to be able to work out. So you can pause the video just now to try and work these ones out yourself, or you can continue listening. It's completely up to you. So let's have a look at the answers to these ones. So half of 90 is 45, half of 70 is 35, half of 50 is 25, and half of 30 is 15. Like I say, I think you just have to learn these ones. We did go over it in class, it was a wee while ago, so if you have forgotten, don't worry about it. Maybe just, like I say, pause the video just now, have a wee think about those. Maybe you can make a poster or some flashcards that you can use to help you remember these 4 sums. They will come in really useful when we're doing halving and things like that. It'll make your life a lot easier. So don't worry if you don't know them straight away, we can definitely work them out later on. It is very tricky. Okay, we'll go on to a hot level now. So finding half of 68. So the way that we did it in class, and there's lots of different ways of being able to work out the answer to this. The way we did it in class is the way I'm going to show you now. But if mum and dad have a different way of working things out, don't worry about that too much. Whatever works best for you, you can use that method. It doesn't really matter as long as you can explain the steps that you used to go over it. So I'm going to do the one we did in class. But like I said, you can use whatever strategy works for you. So the first thing that we did in class was we partitioned the number. So what's the 6 really mean? What's the 8 really mean? So we split it into 60 and 8, and we were all fantastic at that when we did it in the class. So hopefully we remember that. The next step is to then half each section. So we half the 60 to get 30, we half the 8 to get 4, just like that. And the last step is to bring those two pieces back together. So 30 and 4, bring them back together and we get 34. So half of 68 is 34. Let's have a look at another example. So find half of 46. So again, we do a little side sum. The first step is to partition 46. So we get 40 and we get 6. We then half each of those sections. So half of 40 is 20, half of 6 is 3. We bring those two pieces together, so 20 and 3 together would be 23. So hopefully that is making sense, that revision. We'll do one more together. This one is a little bit tricky. So find half of 72 this time. So let's do a wee side sum. First things first, we partition 72, so we get 70 and 2. That 70, halving 70 was one of our trickier halving ones. So if you need to go back in the video to find that answer, or if you made your flashcards or poster, you can have a look at what half of 70 is. Hopefully you got 35. Half of 2 is 1. So this time when we bring 35 and 1 together, we just add them up and hopefully we got 36. So half of 72 is 36. That one is a trickier example, definitely, and you will need to go back to those flashcards or poster if you made them. So what I've got for you to practice all of those skills, like I say, it is revision, so hopefully this has been helpful just to remind you of those steps. We've got mild, we've got medium, and we've got hot examples for you to try. So I'll quickly show you them and then you can pause the video and decide what level you want to try. So mild, those were those first ones we did at the start of the video, sort of warm-up questions. Medium takes it to the next level ever so slightly, but stays within 200, and they're all multiples of 10. And hot, hot ones you will need to use a different strategy like the partitioning that I have just shown you to be able to work those out. So you can decide what level you're going to do just now. You can do all 3 levels, it's completely up to you. So you can pause the video just now and then we'll come back and we'll get some answers in a wee second. Alright, so let's get some answers for these finding a half of a number. So we'll do the milds first, sorry. Half of 10 is 5, half of 12 is 6, half of 16 is 8, half of 18 is 9. So well done if you got those. Medium, half of 40 is 20, half of 60 is 30, half of 70, one of the trickier ones, it's 35, half of 120 is 60, and half of 180 is 90. So that was the medium. For hot, so taking it up a level, half of 42 is 21, half of 64 is 32, half of 96 is 48, half of 58 is 29, and half of 74 is 37. So well done if you got those ones. Those were quite tricky towards the end in the hot section, so well done if you got those. Okay, so let's move on to finding a tenth of a number. We didn't do this in class, however we did something very, very similar. When we're finding a tenth of a number, what we're really doing is dividing that number by 10, which we have done in class. If you think way back to when we did the hula hoops, and we had the hula hoops lying up on the floor and each person was a number and we jumped up the hula hoops, and then for dividing we jumped down the hula hoops, that is dividing by 10. So we have done dividing by 10. Finding a tenth of a number is exactly the same as dividing by 10. So hopefully, again, it's just revision, just in a different way, thinking about it as a fraction rather than saying dividing by 10. It's exactly the same. So let's have a look at an example together. So find a tenth of 20. So to do that, we can, if you've got your a grid or something that you can use, or if you've got hula hoops or something you can use as hula hoops to help, that would be fantastic. Or you can get mum and dad to be numbers and you can shuffle them around, whatever works best for you. So if you've got a place value card like mine, you can easily make one up. If not, we put 20 into the tens and units, just where they would go. To divide by 10, we shuffle everything down a step. So the 2 jumps into the units and the 0 disappears. Remember, we had someone sort of running off into the distance when they disappeared. So finding tenth of 20, the answer is just 2. So hopefully you were able to work that one out. Let's do another example. Find a tenth of 80. So again, on your hula hoops or whatever you're using, you can put 80 into tens and units. To divide by 10, we shuffle everything down a jump. So the 8 moves from the tens into the units, and the answer for that question is 8 because the 0 disappears. We'll do one more together, guys. So this one, a little bit trickier. Find a tenth of 120. So on our place value chart, we can put 120 into the correct columns. Everything shuffles down a jump. So the 1 moves from the hundreds into the tens. The 2 moves from the tens into the units. The 0 disappears, so we're left with 12. So a tenth of 120 is 12. So hopefully that makes sense for you. That was very fast, as usual. If you want to go back and listen to any of that again, feel absolutely free to do so. What I've got for you now is some examples that you can try of finding a tenth of a number. Dividing by 10 is exactly the same. So I've got medium and I've got hot for you to try. So you can decide what one you want to do. You can try both of them if you want to. You can use, like I say, hula hoops or mum and dad or whiteboard or place value charts to help you shuffle these numbers down. If you can do it in your head, excellent. So you can pause the video just now, you can decide what questions you're going to do, and we'll get some answers in a wee second. Let's have a look at answers for medium first of all. So we'll find a tenth of 50, it was 5. Find a tenth of 60, it was 6. Find a tenth of 90, it was 9. Find a tenth of 100, it was 10. So well done to everyone if you managed to get those. Going on over to the hot section, let's get some answers. So find a tenth of 140, it was 14. Find a tenth of 160, it was 16. Find a tenth of 270, it was 27. And find a tenth of 310, and it was 31. So hopefully you managed to do those. If you managed to do them in your head, fantastic. If you had to use resources as well, that's not a problem, that's absolutely great. So hopefully you can explain the steps of how to find a half of a number, and you can explain the steps to find a tenth of a number, and that's you finding fractions of a number. So well done everybody if you managed to do that today.